Welcome to the Limitless Podcast. The Limitless Podcast is centered around exactly that, being limitless. Hunting, fishing, fitness, nutrition, adventure, disabilities. What may be covered during the Limitless Podcast will be, well, limitless. Stay tuned for this episode of the Limitless Podcast. Limitless Podcast fans, man, this is such an exciting time of year right now. We're in September. This is always an awkward thing for me when I record or rip a session with somebody, especially when I'm really excited to have the opportunity to rip with them, knowing that it's not going to publish for like a month. It's like, man, I have future plans days away, and I'm so excited to talk about those things and reference those things. But yet when this recording hits the airways, it will be almost probably like 7 to 10 days already done. But with that said, I am a week from right now, I'm going to be packed into the Idaho wilderness. And with that, I will have a slew of products and gear and equipment with me on my body, actually using them in the field that are associated with the 6 sponsors of the Limitless Podcast. I say this every time. There are no kickbacks from these 6 sponsors to the Limitless Podcast. This show is run out of my own shallow pockets. The content from this show, it's raw, it is unscripted, and it is purely the opinion of me, the one-legged backcountry archer, and the people that I host on this show. These sponsors are here for your benefit only. So we're going to run through them really quick. I have Hunting Day Coffee, which I am drinking a smoking hot cup of Hunting Day coffee. This is the Spear Hunter blend. It's one of their dark blends. It is muy buenos, and I'm enjoying it out of this fine Badlands Approach custom Limitless Outdoors coffee mug. If you're interested, we can talk about those on a one-on-one basis. I'm not going to take a drink of that right now, but shortly. That is a 10% off any order at huntingdaycoffee.com. Your code is BLimitless10. Now, BLimitless is spelled BELIMBITLESS. If you don't spell it right, the code doesn't work. Next one, Phelps Game Calls. Now, I know that we're in elk season right now, and we're also in deer season, but my stuff is already mostly packed. I am still practicing with the diaphragm calls every day, but they're downstairs staged. So this is my favorite deer call. And since this episode is going to be focused on deer, this is the Phelps Beta Pro Butt Grunt. This is a stellar call. I've been using this for 2 years now, and I've called in a couple of really, really nice antlered whitetail with this call. So check out Phelps Game Calls. They are far more than just elk calls. Next. Oh, wait, you want a code, don't you? 20% off at Phelps Game Calls. One-time use. It's not one item. It's one-time use on your order. So spend it wisely. That is BLimitless20, spelled the same. Now we have On Point Adventure Foods. I don't have something to show you if you're watching this on YouTube here. But I will tell you, On Point Adventure Foods is the staple of my nutrition for my upcoming hunt. I love their freeze-dried food. Their meals are home-cooked in their approved kitchen, freeze-dried on-site. They are locally sourced ingredients from Pennsylvania. Give them a look. I strongly recommend them. On Point Adventure Foods. That's 10% off any order. BLimitless10. Next, Vortex Optics. Only glass that I use, only glass that I rely on, including my rangefinder, binoculars, and optics and red dots. Again, huge fan. 25% discount on Vortex Optics and or their products at eurooptics.com. Vortex does not deal directly with consumers. So they have provided a code for Euro Optics, 25% off. Get ready for this one. It is VTXLMTLS25. Use it, enjoy it. Wilderness athlete. Yes, I am double fisting during this episode. The guy that we are hosting today, I knew that I was going to have to be revved up to keep up with this dude. Wilderness athlete. I use their products every single day. From the multivitamin. I am currently on their altitude pill, prepping for my hunt, my trip into Idaho. I use their hydration products, and they have an emergency hydration stick that is absolute money. Doesn't taste the best, but it works like a champ. So I'm taking all of that into the backcountry with me. I am drinking their hydration mix right now. That is Wilderness Athlete, 20% off any wilderness item athlete on their website. They carry other brands on their website in their nutrition section for trail food. But anything that is the Wilderness Athlete brand, 20% off. And that is Be Limitless 20 as well. I'm not going to drink this right now, but it's going to happen here in a second. I'm getting parched, all this talking. Last but not least, the Love Sauce Hot Sauce Company. I say this pretty much every episode. It is a boutique, small batch hot sauce company owned by a fellow Navy veteran buddy of mine, Harry, solid dude. Check out his hot sauces. They are spicy, but they're really, really good. 10% off any order, $12 or more, and that is Be Limitless 10. So those are the 6 sponsors for the show. Again, purely for your benefit as a listener, 0 kickbacks to me. Please use those codes. Please support those companies. So with that said, I am sitting here face to face with this dude with a really big bushy red beard. I don't recall the beard being so thick and full. When I saw him about 3 months ago, I'm pretty sure that I'm staring through the screen at a direct descendant of is it Leif Erikson, the Viking, the Norseman? I don't know, maybe not, but I do know that this is a stellar archer, both not in the competitive world, but also out in the whitetail woods. He works for GAS Bowstrings Company. Just a great man to engage with, shake hands with. He is a hugger, by the way. And this is Aaron Adams, everybody. If you're watching this on YouTube, he's sitting here grinning at me, waiting for his turn to talk. And if you're listening to this via an audio platform, you're probably sitting there waiting for me to stop talking, for Aaron to start talking. So with that said, Aaron, welcome to the Limitless Podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Enjoy being here, enjoy supporting y'all, and excited to be on here. Looking forward to it.
It took us a while. We've been playing cat and mouse with our calendars for what, a month and a half?
It's been about that long, yeah.
And then we spent a solid 20 minutes trying to get technical issues figured out so that you could record with me while you're sitting in an office space there in Clay City, Kentucky at the gas facility.
Yeah, all on my end, of course. I'm not super tech savvy, but I mean, we're here doing the thing. So,
We got it figured out.
oh yeah, excited to be here. Looking forward to the podcast, and like excited for hunting season.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah. Well, we have several topics that we can talk about. Um, and so we met, was it June? It was June. We met in June.
Mm-hmm.
Um, GAS hosted my nonprofit, the A3G Initiative, at your facility. And we, couple of the board members, invaded your privacy. And we, some of us more than others. And we brought along our 2024 recipient, Dustin Pruett, bilateral lower limb amputee who had 0 archery experience. Along with that lower limb, disability. He only has 4 fingers on his draw hand, and he has some deformities along in that hand and strength issues. He did not think that he could shoot a vertical bow. And through our efforts and the fantastic teamwork between the GAS professionals and the A3G Initiative board, we had that kid shooting lights out in less than 3 days.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal experience, and I can't say enough about you all and Dustin and the impact that it had on us. Not what it had on him. I'm sure it had an impact on him, but the impact it had on us was unreal. And the emotions and the thoughts that go through your head during that time getting him set up is crazy. It truly changes you and puts you in perspective of where you're at and what's going on around you, and it's super cool to be a part of. And I can't thank y'all enough for letting us be a part of that and getting him out there and shooting a bow.
It was a lot of fun for me to stand back and be fairly hands off and watch you guys work with him. And we have some incredible video footage of it, and watching you specifically work with Dustin in building his bow. Taking the factory strings off of his Hoyt provided Alpha X33 and putting a custom set of GAS bowstrings on there, and having you walk him through and allowing him to get his fingers into the mix and swap his own strings out and turn wrenches. And we published a video from that event, and you get to hear Dustin talk about how he feels so connected to that bow now. And we have footage of you, sitting there working with him, walking him through that process of building and tuning his bow. It's just amazing. We had such a good time with you guys, and the quality of coaching and the direction that all of you were able to send him in for the foundation of his shooting and his future in archery was it was powerful. It was awesome.
Yeah, we want to thank you for letting us be a part of that. I mean, it was truly good to be a part of, and blessed to be able to join in on that. And I mean, that's kind of what I've done. Like before I started working here at GAS, I worked in a archery shop uh, throughout my end of college and into real life essentially for about 3 to 4 years before I joined on at GAS. So that's all I did for a while was work on bows, tune them, fix people's stuff. Started a JOAD program while I was there. Junior Olympic archery development program through USA. So I grew up and have been a coach, archery tech most of my life at this point. And having Dustin come in here and be able to help him with some of that and to do some of those things with him and teach him was an honor. And he was a great young man, great to be a part of it, very appreciative of everything. And I think he has fallen in love with archery now. And it was great to see the smile and the joy on his face doing some of those things, even turning wrenches before he even shot the bow. Like you could see the smile on his face and the enjoyment that he was having, just being around, talking, like learning new things here and there, and it was great.
He is genuinely a good human.
Oh yes,
100%. So
yeah. I don't think you could win anybody better.
yeah, no, we're very fortunate this year for sure. I was going to jump right into some hunting talking, but you brought up something that I want to know a little bit more about. You said that you worked in an archery shop when you were in college. You shot competitively in college. Were you on a scholarship?
I was, yes, yeah. I started competitive archery late in life, so I started hunting when I was bow hunting when I was 13. I started hunting before that. But I didn't start competitive archery until about my end of my sophomore, beginning of my junior year of high school. And in that time, I kind of fell in love with it. I say I became addicted to it. It was my cocaine. Like I couldn't get enough of it. Uh, and I just started shooting pretty much nonstop. And during that time, I won a couple things in high school. ended up being blessed enough to get an archery scholarship. I went to University of Cumberland's on that, so I shot competitively for them for a few years. Won a few things with them. Set a couple records collegiately. I think most of them have been broke. There's two I think that are left, but it was a great time in my life. I enjoyed it. I got a good education from it, from shooting a bow, which I didn't even think I could do. Shoot a bow to get an education, and it was very enjoyable.
One of the things that truly impresses me about the atmosphere at GAS is the depth of the experience and the quality of the archers that are there, mixed with the humility that is there. Hearing you talk right now, it's like, hey man, I want to hear about your background. You're like, oh yeah, I got a scholarship here, and I did a few things with them. I won a few things with them. I set a record or two. Most of them have been broken, but it's casual. It's not like, look at me. For anybody that has heard of the singer Kenny G, his brother Braden G works for GAS. If you ever see like pictures of them next to each other, you can definitely see the resemblance between Kenny and Braden. But again, if you know anything about Braden G, the dude is potentially the greatest compound shooter that's ever walked the earth. And it, you know, being being around him, he doesn't talk about it. It's like he doesn't want to talk about it. I stood back and observed, and we have footage of him just sitting in a folding chair, nose to nose with Dustin, just talking about everything, but also talking about archery. And it's it's really it's really special when you can be around the GAS professionals. I've been around celebrities in the outdoor business. I've been around professional ball players. I've been around some very elite military members that do very unique, special things. And there's a lot of ego and a lot of attitude attached to a lot of those people. And to be around the GAS team is a very different experience. And my hats off to you guys for being who you are and how you conduct your business. How What was your transition then from being in the collegiate world into the competitive world outside of the university levels?
So, like I said, I got started competitively in high school through S3DA, Scholastic 3D Archery. I did some competitions with them uh, very early on when the program was kind of getting started there. Uh, at the end of that, right before I got into college, I actually started branching out outside of like uh, school shoots and stuff like that we didn't do as a team in my high school or anything. I went to like ASA's Archery Shooters Association 3D shoots. Started going to them my senior year and kind of fell in love with it. So I was doing collegiate archery at the same time as I was doing competitions outside of collegiate archery. So I was doing ASAs and NFAA events at the same time as I was doing collegiate events. And early on in my collegiate career, my freshman and sophomore year, uh, we actually we had our indoor shoots. The top eight from the nation indoors got to go to indoor nationals for college, and I was lucky enough to be a part of that both years. And on those both years, if you were in the top eight, the National Collegiate Nationals was in Vegas. It was the Vegas shoot. It was hosted after your qualification was a score from the Vegas shoot, and then you shot your matches and stuff after everybody's over because we had one of the halls booked up, and so you're shooting matches and everything in Vegas. So even if I didn't start shooting outside of college at that time, collegiate would have taken me to other shoots like the Vegas shoot and some bigger stuff like that inside of that, and it really puts you uh, gets you onto it and then gets you shooting competitively. A lot of these guys that I went to school with are still shooting competitively, and they just uh, either collegiate archery has driven them more forward from where they are, or they are got into archery, just got a scholarship with it, and then most of them don't putter out. Most of them fall in love with it during college. They got it in high school, tried it out, got a scholarship, start shooting, and then college archery kind of drove them to keep competing after college. And archery is something anybody can do at any age, whether you're competing or hunting, and it's what's amazing about this sport.
And there's so many different avenues you can pursue if you choose. You know, there's
Mm-hmm.
the tradition between the traditional world and the compound world. There's so many lanes that you can shoot in, you can enjoy, you can do it for a hobby, you can do it for a sport, you can do it competitively, you can do it to hunt in. It's just it's never ending. You can spend your entire life devoted to the sport and never truly perfect one single aspect of it. And there's so many different things that you can do. It's amazing. And I've talked to people about the difference between archery and shooting firearms. I love firearms.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some people that say, shooting firearms is their therapy. And I can't say that it's not therapy. It's not therapy for me. And the reason why I don't believe so is the archery industry, one, it's different. Two, you can do it anywhere. I mean, if you if you do it right, you can do it in your house. Like you can blind bag in your house. You can do it in your
Mm-hmm.
shop. You can do it indoors anywhere in a safe environment. If you live in an area that allows you to shoot archery in your yard, you can literally shoot it in your yard. Most state parks or state forests will allow you to. They either have an archery range or you can go throw a bag out on the ground and you can shoot your bow in a national forest in a safe direction and environment. Once you buy the initial equipment and you have a dozen arrows, until you break or lose those arrows or outgrow them, if your setup changes, you shoot and you shoot and you shoot. um, you can't do that with a firearm. With a firearm, you have to continuously purchase ammunition. You have to go to a range and you either have to pay daily fees or you have to be a member. It's expensive. There's limited hours. Like literally, if I want to, I can I can go send one arrow right before I go to bed. Or when I wake up in the morning while I'm still groggy, I can walk out to my shop, pick up my bow, and I can send an arrow at 60 yards. Kind of like, wow, I just woke up and we left camp, and oh my goodness, there's a big bull standing in front of me, and I'm not even wide awake yet. And I have to send an arrow down range. It's if you work from home, you can step outside or walk over to wherever your bag target is, and you can send in an arrow or two. Rather than take a smoke break, I take a shot break. I mean, there's so many liberties with it, and it's that whole mental and spiritual piece. It's quiet. It's the thought process and the focus of your draw cycle, your anchor, your release. There's just something very therapeutic about that. And again, I love firearms, but it's a very different experience for me when I pick up a weapon and chamber around, take it off safe, and squeeze that trigger. It's a completely different process for me. So yeah, it's I kind of went down a rabbit hole on that, Aaron. I apologize, but yeah, it is. There's just so many different avenues of archery that we can get into. So
Yeah, and I agree with you on what you said there. I love shooting guns. I have a bunch. Uh, can't I enjoy shooting? I do, but it's not the therapy for me, like you said. Shooting a bow, it takes your whole mind and your mental capacity, go through step by step and do it right. Is the thing about it. If you're doing it right, your mind is on shooting that bow, and it's not drifting off somewhere else. You're not
mhm.
thinking about work. You're not thinking about anything else. You're focused on that shot in and of itself in that moment, and that's where I think a lot of the therapy really comes in at.
Yeah, I agree. So you transition to gas. What do you do for gas?
So originally, I came in as a customer service slash tech support, and by tech support, not like computer tech, like bow tech, string material tech kind of guy. Anybody had issues with their bow or setup or whatever, I kind of helped them with that. and did a few things like that, answered phones, uh, took orders. That was part of my daily routine. I've since transitioned to essentially a project management role. So I'm doing something a little different now than I was then. I'm over anything new and that we're going to release, and should have some good stuff coming right around ATA time, beginning of the year. So look out for that, and it should be pretty good.
Excellent. How long have you been with GAS?
Uh, 3 years, going
Okay.
on 3 years.
Now I've got to ask, and I don't want to get you in trouble, but from the outside looking in, and having been there for the better part of 3 days, what an incredible work environment.
Oh yes, it is fantastic. The people here, the time we spend with people, laughing, joking, cutting up. I mean, we put our heads down and get our work done, but we also have a good time doing it with the people and camaraderie that we have. Uh, and not to brag or anything, but I mean, if I take a lunch break or a 10-minute break or something or whatever, I'll go shoot 3 or 4 arrows out of my bow or something, and then go back to work. I mean, if I have something stressful going on, I'll go shoot, kind of relieve it out, and then come back and hit it hard and right back at it. So that is a big benefit.
Yeah, I truly enjoyed my time there at the gas facility. Like I wanted to work there. I as I drove home from that event, the wheels are spinning. It's like, man, can I convince my wife to move to Kentucky? Because I would love to work for gas. It's a great environment to be in.
Yeah, everybody's laid back. There's nobody accounting you for anything. I mean, everybody here is loyal enough and wants the same thing for the company for it to grow and do well. That we all put our heads down and get our work done. I mean, it's an accountability culture that we have here, but you're accountable for your own stuff. It's not somebody else accountable for you. So you really got to put your head down, get to the grindstone on some of it. But it is fun to do it, and with the people that you're doing it with, it doesn't feel bad, or it doesn't seem like really long days. I mean, of course you'll have one here or there, but it is the work environment that we have is very nice. Like it's comforting.
Excellent. So when I was there, you and I started chatting about whitetail hunting, and we talked. There was two topics that we
Mm-hmm.
discussed. One was my desire to hunt Kentucky in the future. The other topic was at that time you had an upcoming whitetail hunt in Tennessee in hopes of obtaining a velvet antlered deer. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So the I forget the dates of it now. The last weekend in August or the week I forget the dates on it, but I went down to Tennessee, just south of Nashville a little bit, to a real good friend of mine. I actually met him shooting competitive archery. I met him in my first year shooting competitive in high school. I went and shot the Kentucky State ASA. He's from Tennessee, came up here to shoot it, and I ended up getting paired with him. And me and him have been friends ever since then. We've chatted back and forth. He's well older than me. He's in his late 60s, early 70s. I think he's late 60s, and has kind of mentored me as I was growing through archery. And me and him became really good friends. He's been trying to get me down there to hunt for a little bit. So this year I found time to go down there and hunt his farm and the land that he has access to there, and had an amazing time. Was unfortunately unsuccessful, but the experience that I had down there, camaraderie with him, and the deer I saw was phenomenal. I plan on going back a little later this year to try and connect on one, but it was an absolutely amazing hunt.
Did you see any deer?
Oh yes, I saw. Well, I don't know how many does I saw, but at one time, like looking out into the field, I had 15 bucks in front of me. Like it was absolutely like that's the most I've ever seen at one time. And there were six shooters that I was trying to go after. I had an opportunity at one, but unfortunately, it was my fault, and I missed that opportunity. Uh, came out. I was looking one way, he came out another way, and by the time I noticed he was there, because I was looking at another buck over here to my right, and by the time I noticed where he was at a distance I was not comfortable shooting with the wind that we had. So I ended up passing him, but had had an opportunity at a really good deer, and I messed that up for myself, and I will own that 100%. But it was a phenomenal experience, and to get to see those deer and how they act, and just never know I was there and watching them for a couple hours, it was phenomenal.
Did you pass on any deer, or did you just not have a shot opportunity?
No, I passed on a few deer. There's a few smaller bucks that I was within 20, 25 yards of me. But I was trying to hold out for one of those bigger deer, and had a bunch of deer real close. It's just those bigger ones were staying out. They were not bedding where we originally thought they were, or at least they may have changed their bedding spot. Um, so it kind of changed where they were coming out at, and so they were coming out a little further down than what we thought they were. Because I was hunting a bean field at the time, and they were originally of a morning. They were coming from the beans into a basically a little funnel through a gate and into a separate field with a well on it that they could drink water from or whatever. Uh, and that was kind of the pattern. And if they'd have came through there, a 15, 20 yard shot, super close. And unfortunately, the well kind of dried up right before I got there, and they quit taking that path. So we were scrambling to come up with another game plan for it, and still saw a bunch of deer. Had 5 or 6 bucks that I did pass on. Uh, just trying to hold out for something a little better.
Have you harvested a velvet deer, or what is it going to be your first?
This would have been my first velvet deer. Uh, is I had an opportunity at a velvet deer in Kentucky a few years back, or a couple different ones, but again, I passed on them because I was hunting another deer at the time. But this would have been my first velvet deer, and
I
that was something I was really excited for, but unfortunately, just didn't connect.
I had never I have never pursued a velvet, well, any animal in velvet, be it deer
Mm-hmm.
or elk. I've never pursued one in velvet. And last year I started toying with the idea of going to Tennessee, um, and in pursuit of a velvet deer. I don't know if I would have it mounted or not. My experience, after, and I know technology is changing, and
Mm-hmm.
there's ways to treat the velvet now, and but man, if you look at some of the mounts from folks that have harvested velvet antlered animals, they just after a few years, especially after a decade, they just look like trash. It
Yeah.
looks like something that was shot in the early 1900s. They just don't look good. And I've always shied away from that a little bit, but it's one of those it's one of those things on a hunter's list. When you're sitting around camp, or you're sharing a beer, if you're in the you're
Mm-hmm.
in the shooting room at the gas facility, and guys are talking about their hunting prowess. It's like, hey man, have you ever shot a velvet deer? You're like, no, I haven't, not yet. You want to be able to tell stories. So I was looking at going to Tennessee, and I didn't go. And this opening weekend here in Maryland, especially if you come all the way out east, maybe not necessarily in the Appalachian Mountains, because they start losing the velvet up there a little bit earlier, it seems. But opening weekend, there were a slew of velvet harvests taking place, and one of them took place right on our property. My buddy of mine, I hosted him. He's been trying to shoot his first archery deer, and that happened for him on Saturday evening, and it was a full velvet 8 point. And Maryland is a little bit of a sleeper state. If you come out for the opening weekend, again, not in the Appalachians, you have to come all the way into Eastern Maryland. You have a very high probability of shooting a velvet deer. And
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I did not know. The number of like seed size ticks that are crawling around in fresh velvet. It's nuts. And we ripped a podcast from my shop Sunday morning while Nick was processing his deer. And I had caped out the skull for him, and it was sitting at the end of the table, and I was sitting right next to it. And as we're recording, I keep I I keep finding ticks all over me. And at first they were like on my, so if I'm sitting like the skull and the antlers were right next to them up off to my left, and I'm scooted right up against the table. And it it starts out, I find little seed ticks on the top of my hand, and then they're up on my arm. Now then I'm finding, I was in shorts and I'm finding them on my leg, and it's like, where are all these ticks coming from? And then when it was over, I grabbed the skull and I went to move it. And as soon as I touched it and moved it, I mean, I didn't walk 15 feet with it and set it down again. And I had ticks all over my hands. And when you get down close and you look, you can't see them. In the
Mm-hmm.
velvet, you cannot see them. I was looking. I looked at it multiple times, and every time you would pick up that stupid skull, you would have seed ticks just crawling all over your hands and your forearm. It was nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a bunch down there where I was at, and I've had a buddy that was lucky enough to get a velvet deer, and it was the same way with his. There were so many like micro ticks on there that it was unreal. Like it kind of made you not want to touch it for a little bit, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's almost like I don't know what would happen. I don't know what like Sawyer's spray would
mm,
do to the velvet. I don't know if it would hurt the velvet or not. But I was tempted to go grab my can of Sawyer's and just spray the antlers down on that thing, so that we didn't
yeah,
have all those seed ticks crawling all over us.
right, yeah. I don't know what that would do to the velvet as far as on the mounting side of it will go. It would definitely help with the ticks though, but uh, yeah, I actually have a good friend of mine who's a taxidermist here. He actually taught me. He was my one of my elementary school teachers, and I talked to him about doing velvet mounts, and we're talking about stuff like that. And he said that he even after they bring them to him, most of them bring them to him like right away. He'll have a bunch of ticks come out, and you can just wash and go. And he said the preservatives for the velvet on there has gotten a lot better than it has in the past, which was one of the reasons I kind of was going more toward shooting a velvet deer. Just kind of see how they last. I know he's done a bunch, and he said they turned out really well. And so it was just something that he told me, and kind of wanted to do to get him to do one for me, and see exactly what it's doing now versus it did back then. Because I know, like you said, if you mount a velvet buck and it's 5, 10 years old, you can definitely see the age in it.
Yeah. I'm sending a message to Sawyer right now to see if they have any immediate information for us on that, or
Yeah.
if that's something that they haven't even thought about. But I mean, how awesome that would be! So convenient, especially, I mean, for a whitetail hunter in the Midwest and out east. Sawyer's
Mm-hmm.
is a very prominent brand, right? And most of us have it we have it in our garages, our house, or shop. I keep it in my truck. I keep it in my side by side. I'm using Sawyer's constantly.
Yeah.
It's, man, if you go on a velvet hunt, or if you're anticipating a velvet harvest, you know, if you could just spray those antlers down with Sawyer and reduce the tick transfer, that'd be brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, it would. It'd be very beneficial. You wouldn't have to worry so much about uh, them getting on you. You can just, especially after you go already cape it and have the skull sitting there, you spray it down, just let it sit, and then take it to the taxidermist after it's sat for a little bit. You wouldn't have to worry about it near as much.
Yeah. I think it would 100% work. I'm just, the question is, will it have a detrimental impact to the velvet?
Yeah, I personally, I know I've looked at it in the past. I don't remember what's in Sawyer's, uh, the ingredients in there. I don't think it would have anything that I would think would break it down. Could be wrong in that, but just kind of going off memory, I don't think it would.
Well, I tell you what, man, I would I certainly want to try to find out. That might be my
Yeah.
mission. If they've never experimented with that, next year I might try to harvest a velvet deer out here. And
Hmm.
honestly, man, if I've considered it, if I harvested a velvet deer, I was just gonna remove the velvet and then do like a
Yeah.
year on it or something. Anyhow,
Hmm.
so maybe next year that'll be my experiment. I'm gonna put that on my calendar.
Oh yeah.
Test Sawyer's on velvet in 2025.
Oh yeah. I'm sure you got that out there. I'm sure a lot of hunters would appreciate that if it did work.
Hey, what was your environment down there in Tennessee? Were you guys sleeping in a house? Were you in an Airbnb, a trailer, tents? How were you hunting?
He hosted me in his house there, so we were staying there. The farm that he owns is 2 minutes down the road. It's real close to his
Okay.
house. He lives in a neighborhood there with several other houses, and but his farm is just 2 minutes down the road, so it was real quick there and back for hunting. I mean, of course, we parked and hike in. Uh, it was fairly flat. There was a little hilly to it in the western part of Tennessee. Uh, like I said, we mostly hunting beans. There was a lot of wooded area on the property too, but main part that we were hunting was the beans, and they were we did figure out where they were bedding at after the first day and a half of hunting there. Uh, and it was a spot that we didn't feel like we could get into without jumping them or disturbing them and getting them out of. We thought it would get them out of their pattern if we went in there and tried to get any closer to them. Uh, which is why we didn't put a whole lot of change in what we were doing. We did change the setup, brought more out into the beans, probably 100 yards from where the little goalie was that they were going through the gate when they were transferring from field to field. Uh, but that was the only change we made and we felt we can make without spooking them or jumping them or getting off their habit right there. And from the look of where they were coming out, I agree with that, and I think we made the right move, even though I was unsuccessful on the hunt. It's still very enjoyable.
Okay. Were you so you were more or less hunting the uh the field edge or set up out in the beans. You weren't setting up in the transition areas.
So of a morning, I would still set up in the transition areas just because of a morning they were getting in the beans so early. We didn't feel like we could beat them out to the beans without jumping them. So I was hunting that transition into the woods a little bit as they were going through the gate, and I still saw a lot of deer going from the bean field to just a field with hay on it, and just not the ones we were hoping to see. And but of the evening, we were on the edge of the beans.
Okay. Interesting. So what's your hunting setup this year? Let's talk about that.
So right now, I'm shooting a Matthews Lift 33, 70 pounds, with the Ultra View arrows, the 1K arrows. That's
So
that's what I'm running for a bow setup.
those ultra view arrows are spendy.
Yes, they are. Billy White, a good friend of mine. So I decided to give them try them out there, and I'm enjoying them a lot. I see they cut down on weight from what I was running. Same spine, uh, very similar diameter arrows. The 1K arrows were lighter, so I did pick up quite a bit of. I picked up about 10 feet per second over what I was running, uh, and I saw a lot of benefit to it because of that. I know their carbon's kind of new, but it did lighten the arrow up and got me a little more speed in that. Which I mean, speed doesn't kill. Speed does kill, but speed's not the most important thing in setup, or at least not to me. But it was very beneficial when it done that, and they've been phenomenal shoot, easy to tune. I've just enjoyed them.
Yeah. Um, going down the topic of speed and weight, man, that's a whole nother podcast in itself, right?
You can
So
definitely go down a rabbit hole.
yeah, yeah. So you said 70%, uh, not seven, so 70 pounds. Are you 70 pounds on the nose, or are you a little heavier?
I think it's coming in like 71.2,
Okay.
something
And
just over.
what's your let off?
I think I'm at the 80%.
80%. Now,
Mhm.
what do you, I don't want to shift into a target rig, but what is your let off when you step up to the line with your target rig? What's the let off on that bow?
I couldn't tell you a percentage right off, probably somewhere in the 60s. But on a target rig, I'm generally pulling 60 pounds and holding anywhere from, depending on the setup, 18 to like 22 pounds of holding weight, as opposed to like the Matthews with 70 pounds and 80%. I think I'm holding like 8 or 9 pounds. So there's a pretty big jump in holding weight from one to the other.
There is. I'm that kind of caught me off guard a little bit. I figured that you would be in the 70% for your hunting rig, because you're a competitive archer. So I find that interesting. Um, what um, what is your total arrow weight?
Uh, four 448, I think.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, I think it's 448.
So you're
Uh,
somewhere in you're in the what, 200, 280s, 290s for speed?
yeah, I'm in the like 293 or
Okay.
294, I think.
Okay. Nice. So talk to me about broadheads. What broadheads do you shoot?
So I'm actually running a broadhead that one of my close friends is making. He's making and selling them called contact broadheads. He's got mechanicals and fixed blade. I'm actually running his fixed blades right now, and they fly phenomenal. I killed one. He was prototyping some mechanicals last year, and that's what I was shooting then. Uh, and killed a doe with one of his mechanicals last year. Did a phenomenal job. Uh, Excellent blood trail with it, and done really well. But I'm running his fixed blades this year. He's actually got them on the market now. So kind of excited to run those and push those for people around here a little bit, because he's trying to get up. He's got all the Swiss machining and everything in his garage, so he's doing it all in house. He designs it on the computer, puts it on the Swiss machine, spits it out, and then you've got the finished product there. So,
That's cool. Good for him. How about bow sight? What bow sight do you run and why?
right now I'm running the Ultra View site. I don't remember what it's called, uh, to be off the top of my head, but is there site? I'm running it with I'm running a single post but double pin
Okay.
on their smaller scope. So I think if I've got my top pin on 20, my bottom pin is like 42. Uh, so that's the spacing between the two. And I've got on a smaller scope that way I can reach out there a little bit further. Uh, Run it because it's super easy adjustment. I think they thought of a lot of it when they went through and actually built the site, because the dial for to change the elevation on it, change the yardage, the locking for it is right there. So when you grab the dial, you go to spin it, you can unlock it and spin it at the same time. So you don't have to waste another step or waste any time transitioning from one to the other.
Okay. Release. What do you shoot for a release?
A Stan Onyx. I'm actually hunting with the clicker. So it's a thumb button style release, but with a click in it.
Okay. Very good.
Uh, Kind of keeps me thinking, especially with a deer out there. I've known to I'll get more nervous on a deer than I will ever shoot in tournament archery. So the clicker, from what I've found out and experimented with, and actually shot a couple deer with it last year, it keeps me thinking about my shot process and not on the deer itself. And I end up making a better shot with it because I get back, wrap, go to the click. So I'm like, all right, everything's set. Now I just focus on shot because I'm focused on getting to that click and then executing the shot, as opposed to just there's a deer in front of me. I got to shoot. So,
Man, I I hope that I hope that a lot of people listen to my podcast. I hope a lot of people listen to that statement right there. You, as listeners, you're listening to a a highly competitive, very established target archer. Um, Set some records. The guy can shoot a bow. Yet he's telling you that when you put hair on it, it's an entirely different game. And there's, especially for new archers out there, you can stand on the flat range and shoot lights out all day long. And when you get that furry critter in front of you, it's a whole new ball game. I don't care how good you shoot in the backyard. When you get out in Mother Nature and God blesses you with a shot opportunity on an actual animal, it's it changes.
Yeah, I mean, I've been shooting competitive archery since I was a sophomore in high school now, and been doing it a long time. Shot on some really big stages. Uh, I've shot with crowds all around. Me and another guy shooting head to head with crowds around us. Like that's nerve wracking. But honestly, even a doe is more nerve wracking shooting her than being on that tournament side shooting with all the people watching or whatever. Like it's just a different, completely different feeling, and the nerves and the rush that you get from that is unreal. And it's keeping yourself on your shot is by far the hardest part
Mhm.
of bow hunting. Uh, because it's a much easier to do in a competitive scenario. You've got time, you don't have to worry about a whole lot. Just you and the bow, just shoot your shot. But you get a deer in there, you're under a bit of a time restraint. You got to figure out what yards are at. There's so much stuff you've got to do in that moment that you need something to be able to slow you down. Be like, all right, you're grounded. This is what you need to do in that shot, and that's kind of what that release kind of did for me, or at least helped me through it with the click in it, because I'm focused on getting that click and then going through the shot, and that kind of grounds me back to where I'm at. Before that, I actually hunted with a hinge release, the Scott Longhorn Hunter. Hunted with it for years and did very well shooting it. Uh, and that kept me very similar scenario to the clicker. I don't know that I would shoot. I don't know that I would suggest a lot of people shoot a hinge to hunt with, just because of the nerves and everything you get. But that's what I shot competitively a long time, and it was more natural to me. And I was, took I was less stressed shooting a hinge at that time than I was a button in that scenario.
Do you hunt mostly ground blinds and tree stands?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I am as a saddle hunter, there's no way I would shoot a hinge in a saddle. Just because the awkward positions that I get into, I'm
Yeah.
afraid that that would be a recipe for disaster. Me personally,
Mm-hmm.
maybe there might
Yeah.
be some tree saddle hunters out there that shoot a hinge, and man, if you can do that, and you're confident with it, and you can 100% make that shot, I think that's awesome. I wouldn't recommend it for the average guy. And I'm not saying that I'm an above average tree saddle hunter. I tree saddle hunt a lot, and I would not use a hinge out of a tree saddle at all. I just wouldn't do it. But
Yeah.
that's
I've
cool.
not been in this scenario. I've got one. Actually, just got one a little bit ago, and I haven't even put it up yet. Tried it out. I've been more focused on deer, setting out cameras, getting ready for season, getting my bow set up. So I haven't even pulled with it. I'll probably pull with it maybe mid season or like after season, some point in time. Uh, but yeah, I don't have no experience with the saddle as far as being in one. And I can only imagine the positions that you'll get in. So, I mean, even if you're hunting a ground blind or a tree stand, I hunt out climbers mostly. But even then, I don't wouldn't recommend the hinge for a lot of people. You've got to be very mindful when you're hunting with a hinge and don't rotate it as you're drawing back. I mean, you get focused on deer right there. You're going to draw back with more of your top part of your hand than your bottom, just out of habit, just wanting to get the bow back, and
Mhm.
you'll fire the arrow mid draw, and then your hunt's over. So.
And you're going to punch yourself in the face.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, good deal. Well, let's talk Kentucky.
All
So
right.
I again, this is another thing that I really loved about being at GAS is that when I do have a desire to go hunt Kentucky, and I'm going to do it with a backpack on my back. And when I shared that with you, the response wasn't, stay in your own state or trying to direct me away from areas that you hunt. You guys immediately said, "Hey, Aaron, check these spots out. Hey, I had a camera here. It's I don't really have a desire to go in there to hunt, but I've had cameras in there. Check these deer out. Hey, the year that you plan to come, we certainly need to talk, and we're definitely here to support you. I mean, I was offered lodging. I've been offered places to park my truck. I've been offered vehicle shuttling so I don't have to leave my out of state truck in Kentucky trailheads for disgruntled residents to vandalize. It was a very warm, welcoming. Hey, yeah, if you want to come hunt Kentucky, bring your man card and come get it on. Let's see what happens. I'm really excited about that prospect, Aaron. And yeah, I'm Aaron. This is Aaron. This isn't like the Aaron fan club here. Like we're helping each other out because we're both AA Rons. That's not what this is about. I'm really excited in the next year or two to cross the borders and come over to Kentucky and try my hand at potentially like the Daniel Boone. I find that really attractive because it's pretty rugged. The Daniel
Mhm.
Boone is no joke, and it will cause a lot of grown men to turn around and go back closer to the road, and that's what really appeals to me about the Daniel Boone. And it's not really the size of the animal; it's the size of the experience for me. And I do think that Kentucky holds a unique experience for me to pursue, and I'm really looking forward to that in the future.
It is definitely some rough country. I'm not gonna say it's as rough as like Colorado or any of those states, but it's thick. It's a lot of uphill and downhill hikes, and that's pretty much what I've hunted my whole life. I've not had a lot of access to private land, so I've hunted public most of my life. And Daniel Boone is where I hunt. I actually grew up uh, in the middle, pretty much right in the middle of Daniel Boone National Forest. Uh, so that's actually what I'm hunting this year is public land in Kentucky. Uh, so I have a lot of experience doing that. I've hiked a lot of hikes. You'll hike for an hour, hour and a half, and make it 2 miles. So
Mm.
I mean, it's definitely thick. And it's you kill a deer in there. It's work getting it out, but it is very fulfilling getting it out and knowing what you put in to get that deer. And it is the harvest and the amount of time you spend on it. I feel is greater in that scenario, and it's something I've enjoyed my whole life doing. And I'm actually not hiking as far into Daniel Boone this year, where I've got planned to hunt. As in years past, this one is probably half a mile uh, deep into it. It's just I found what I feel like is probably a little honey hole right there, so I'm not super deep into it, and excited to hunt this year. So,
Excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing some of your success stories and sharing some pictures, man.
I don't know how much success I have. I do a lot of hunting. Uh, I have killed a few deer, nothing huge by no means, uh, but I enjoy it. I've had some good pictures. I've chased some big deer, and I'll be honest, Daniel Boone has been kind of humbling uh, a lot of times because I'll spend a lot of time chasing one deer and chasing and chasing and chasing, and I'll end up with tack soup at the end of it. But during that time, I've had a blast, and I don't know that I would have it any other way.
Love to hear it. Awesome. Well, Aaron, tell people where they can find you if somebody wanted to reach out, or follow you, or if you're willing to share any information, especially from like the target world, the competitive world. Where can people reach out and contact you if you wish to share that?
Yeah, sure. I don't post a whole lot anywhere. I do have Facebook, Aaron Adams. I don't have like a archery page or anything like that. It's just Aaron Adams. And then Instagram, I think my handle is Adams7889. That's the only two platforms that I really have. Uh, it's been, I don't post a whole lot on there. I used to, probably should get more into it. But that'll give you a feel for like what I've done and kind of what I've done in the past a little bit. Right now, probably I mean, I'm here at GAS, so if you want to call in, ask questions on strings or anything like that, you can call the phone here, 606-612-5156. We can talk strings, anything you want to know or find out. Feel free to call in, ask for me, and we can definitely try and get you taken care of.
I love it. All right. And from a limitless standpoint, you as listeners know you are listening to the Limitless Podcast. It is hosted under Limitless Outdoors, and you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. The podcast, we have it on all major podcasting platforms, and every episode has a video version on YouTube. I have slacked off on the waypoint options that I advertised when I first launched this show, but I am going to start releasing those waypoint um, podcasts. Those waypoints, a lot of them will be very similar to some YouTube style review videos. So make sure that when you hear that waypoints are coming out, you might want to watch or listen to some of those waypoint podcasts on YouTube, because you will actually see a certain product or things used in the field. So with that said, Aaron, the way I live my life is the way I end my shows. Be limitless, man.